Hi guys, it's Debbie. It's been such a long time. Recently I've been incredibly busy. I returned home after living on the other side of the world for nearly a whole year. I then left for a holiday and I started working at my new job the morning after returning home with a schedule which currently keeps me away for around 12 hours a day. While all of this was happening, I underestimated what was going on in the world of cinema. I just assumed I was missing some of the terrible summer releases, maybe a couple of good trailers, nothing I couldn't catch up with in no time. But I also apparently forgot that Comic-Con was happening and that also it's about that time of the year in which we start to get the good trailers for this winter. So the first glimpse at the possible Film Awards contenders. There were also new huge trailers every single day. I would refresh YouTube and there would be stuff like the new Godzilla film with Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, the new Fantastic Beasts trailer. Dozens of articles were popping up all over the place. Even Quentin Tarantino is filming his new movie starring everybody from Brad Pitt to Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Tim Roth. So as I'm aware it would be impossible to make all separate standalone videos for everything I missed, today I'd like to cover all that's been going on in one video. First things first, the Aquaman trailer was released. Aquaman will star Jason Momoa as the title character, a half Atlantean, half human who is called to intervene when a war breaks out between our world and the world below the sea. When I first saw the trailer, I was slightly put off, mainly because of the huge CGI shark we see at the beginning of the trailer, but I rewatched it a couple of times and it did eventually capture my attention. I've spoken before about the current situation of superhero films. I'll leave the link to my more in-depth video about that topic, but to sum it up, I believe that since world events such as 9/11, the War on Terror, and subsequent releases of films which have been heavily influenced by these events, such as The Dark Knight, many superhero films, especially DC films, have adapted to this trend of dark elements, the grittier plot, or at least have attempted to. Some, in my opinion, have failed. Suicide Squad, Batman vs Superman, while others managed to find the right compromise between the concept of fear, darkness, and superhero epicness, for example Wonder Woman. But in the case of Aquaman, it looks like there wasn't the desperate attempt to follow along this trend. It's presented as a huge superhero film. It has the big battle scenes, the big muscles, the big animals, but there was nothing specific in the trailer which made us draw an immediate comparison with the darker twists the latest DC films were taking. And I think this is a sound decision. If you're not going to make a beautiful cohesion of light and darkness, if you're going to just attempt to copy with something like Suicide Squad or Batman vs Superman, just don't do it. I can't talk too much about the topic because there are so many other things to say in this video, but let's just say Aquaman is not my thing, but I really want to see it once it's released. By the way, speaking of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, a couple of weeks ago it was actually the 10th anniversary of the release of the Dark Knight, with a whole week of appraisal of the film, special IMAX screenings, and remembering how this film heavily influenced the world of cinema. And I've just discovered that next autumn, October 2019, we'll see the release of a Joker origin film, not by Christopher Nolan. It will star Joaquin Phoenix in the title role and it's supposed to portray the Joker in his younger years, presumably shining a light on how he became who he is. Although there's always been mystery surrounding his past, and he is a character who is famous for providing different versions when speaking about himself. I knew nothing about this film. I am fearful about it but also curious. Also, speaking again of DC films and Wonder Woman I was referencing earlier, the San Diego Comic-Con also provided footage which we weren't able to see of the second chapter in the Wonder Woman series, which is Wonder Woman 1984. There's just so much stuff going on. The next big trailer that was released was Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, the second chapter in the Fantastic Beasts saga, all set in the Harry Potter world. When the first chapter, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, was released a couple of years ago, I loved it. I found it a marvellous reintroduction to the world of Harry Potter, but without buying in the fans with excessive references to his character, as in the end it has little to nothing in connection to him. I loved Newt Scamander's character, and I loved how the saga continued with a darker, more mature twist the latest Harry Potter films had taken, keeping in consideration the age most of the fans were, but at the same time maintaining all that original playfulness of the earlier Harry Potter chapters, which appeals to a younger audience. I love discovering more about the wizarding world, a feeling I believe is common throughout all the fandom, which has this desire of wanting to know more about that world. And I feel that this upcoming film will give us even more, bringing back old favourites such as Dumbledore, this time during his early years of teaching at Hogwarts, the famous ridiculous scene, Hogwarts itself, along with all the new characters continuing on their journey. Johnny Depp is Grindelwald, an interesting villain. Eddie Redmayne stars again as shy and quirky Newt Scamander. It just looks great. Every time I see the magic in action, I feel that special connection, so I can't wait to see this. Another huge trailer, I believe again from Comic-Con, is Godzilla King of the Monsters, something I had never ever heard of. I was only aware that there is an upcoming King Kong vs Godzilla film, but apparently this is a huge film starring Millie Bobby Brown, mostly famous for her role as Eleven in Stranger Things, and which actually reminds me a lot of her character here, alongside Sally Hawkins, Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler. From the lengthy exposition monologue which makes up most of the trailer, we are informed that the human race is at risk. But then I'm confused. At first I understood that the only things that could save the planet were these titans, these huge creatures which have been hiding for centuries. But all this information I have in my mind is very confused, because in the end the humans are going against these creatures. I have no idea. The most impressive feature of this trailer is actually the introduction to these creatures, to these titans. The overwhelming size, this fearful reverence people seem to have towards them. First impressions, it's going to be another Great War Kong Skull Island blockbuster. Am I going to spend a fortune on tickets to go and see it? Absolutely. Then other things, Timothée Chalamet is returning in another emotional film, this time as the son of Steve Carell in Beautiful Boy. In the trailer we see Chalamet's character deeply struggling, and we see this mostly through the eyes of his father, who is trying to help him. Even just this trailer is again the proof of Chalamet's acting talent. He is so good, and he definitely has a thing for emotionally charged roles. I'm also pleased with Steve Carell. He is such a versatile actor. He goes from straightforward comedy to projects like this. Then the first complete Bohemian Rhapsody trailer has been released. It is the Queen biographical film, which I suspect will be a big name around Oscar season. I made a video about the first teaser trailer, and my opinion has not actually changed after the release of this big trailer. It looks incredible. All the shots are made to convey the staggering contribution the band gave to the world of music. I love the Live Aid scenes, mostly because it's my favourite live performance ever, and I was particularly positively surprised by Brian May's character. Rami Malek's role as Freddie Mercury is really teasing us. I love how the whole promotional campaign is allowing us to just see snippets of his character to surprise us at the end. And what have I actually managed to see? I finally got to see Hereditary. It was one of the best and most frightening horror films I have seen in a very long time, and I currently consider it one of the best films of this year. Everything you would expect by a horror film is outdone by this movie. It defies any expectations, and that is probably one of the reasons why it's so frightening. This is one of the films you do not want to hear spoilers about. One film I still haven't seen and I desperately want to see is Sicario: Day of the Soldado. I love the first Sicario film, directed by Denis Villeneuve and set in Juarez, a city in Mexico ruled by cartels. In the second chapter we see the situation worsen as these cartels have a connection with terrorism, so we see how their work aids the terrorist agenda, and how the war escalates to include parts of the Mexican government as the enemy. Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro are back, and I just can't wait to see it. This second chapter is directed by Stefano Sollima. He is an Italian director, and I think he could have been an excellent choice because he has created works such as the series Gomorra, which speaks about the Italian mafia, how it works in a very dark, grim manner. At this point, I hope I have managed to catch up with everything, and my videos will resume as always. Let me know what sparked your interest in the latest weeks, and if you'd like to see more movie-related content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.